podstęp.
Niestety musisz. No trudno, co zrobić. Lekko do chorągwi. Do chorągwi.
Tu się ma przesunąć, tak?
Tak, chorągwi.
Proszę jeszcze troszeczkę.
Dobra, zaczynaj.
Wręczam Ci znaczek klubowy.
Ale do przodu czy
Witam w klubie. Mam nadzieję, że będziecie u nas dobrze.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Jeszcze mamy jedną dosyć...
Ale to poczekaj,
Tak?
to powinniśmy chyba najpierw gości powitać.
No tak, dobrze. Już witam wszystkich tu obecnych.
Tak, ale ja bym chciała przywitać naszego guest speakera, zaproszonego przez Jurka Ganello, Ahmada Piraiee. Hello?
Hello.
Razem z partnerką. Ja, tak powiem, bardzo serdecznie witam mojego kolegę, którego zaprosiłam, który przyjął moje zaproszenie, Darka Wyszyńskiego. No niestety uprzedzałam Cię, że będziesz musiał coś powiedzieć o sobie. Tak.
Skończyłem chyba 1 lat. Jestem prawnikiem.
Co robisz?
Pracuję w bankowości. Nudnej bankowości inwestycyjnej.
Ale nie w KNF-ie.
Nie w KNF.
Tam nie ma inwestycji.
Tam są kontrole.
Tam jest gra kontrolna.
W którym banku?
EMA.
Ten pan. Fajny pan.
Jeszcze przez chwilę.
Ktoś kupuje. No, zobaczymy, kto
Szukam różnych
Nie ma,
rozwiązań.
To tam, bo ja
Na
tobie.
siebie, na życie.
macie informację, że się tam...
To do nas przyszło.
Na siebie, na życie.
Zamknijcie to, wiadomo, wiekowość tam są sobie.
Dziękujemy. Ja bym chciała jeszcze jedną... Dziękuję, Aniu. Ja już wiem, ale tej żarki nie ma. Ja jeszcze jedną chciałabym powiedzieć informację na temat naszego członkostwa w klubie, ponieważ tak jak z Zosią rozmawiałam podczas naszego spotkania wigilijnego, Zosia od 1 stycznia znowu została aktywnym członkiem naszego klubu, także z czeluści naszej archiwalnej bazy Rotary International wyciągnęłam Zosię, znalazłam i Zosia jest już naszym aktywnym członkiem. Także witamy w klubie.
Czy nie musimy sobie przypinać już?
No, nie, Zosia musi zadbać o znaczek od Tomka.
Ja znaczek mam w domu. Tak?
No, o.
Jakby co? Masz ode mnie prezenty.
O, jest dostanę do tej?
No, nie, muszę kupić.
Kierownicy, tak za chwilę. Już chciałem od razu na początku. Mogę? Chciałem powiedzieć, że Angelika zaczyna rok bardzo dobrze, bo odznaki pola z 2 szafirami, tak?
O, to daj aparat, czy zrobię zdjęcie. Posiekaj.
Nie, no, chodź do mnie, chodź, wspaniale. Chodź do mnie, będziemy robić mamie zdjęcie.
Niezwykle miło, że o poce naszego klubu mogę wręczyć na dobry początek.
Może jakby cyrograf podpisywał tak, że są ręce. Uścisk dzwoni tutaj do mnie, poproszę.
Teraz już o, pełen sukces.
Dobra.
Gratulacje.
bo dostałam informację z Rotary International, że z Annual Fund takiego ogólnego został mi przysłany na wniosek kogoś tam w Zurichu.
Za całokształt.
Za całokształt.
Działalności Rotarian.
A potem nie było wiadomo, gdzie został wysłany,
Tak,
a ktoś się zgłosił, że ma to w skrzynce.
dokładnie tak. Z ogłoszeń parafialnych. Wysyłałam Wam i mamy tutaj oficjalne zaproszenie od klubu Giżycko na bal ich w lutym, 22 lutego. Także jakby ktoś chciał sobie wziąć dla pamięci, to zapraszam. Rozmawiałam też dzisiaj z kolegą Joachimem Franke, z prezydentem klubu RC Warszawa Goethe. Też Wam wysyłam informacje na temat koncertu, który organizują 24 tak, stycznia. W związku z tym też przypominam i zapraszam serdecznie. A my widzimy się w najbliższą sobotę.
Tak, o najbliższej imprezie filmowej, znaczy naszej imprezie. Nikomu nie muszę
O 18:00,
przypominać.
od 18:00 będzie już dla nas teatr otwarty, bufety będą otwarte, spektakl zaczyna się o 19:30 i tak jak pisał Robert, będziemy licytować obraz, będziemy zbierać na pomoc Australii. Rotary też się włączyło w pomoc dla Australii, tamtejsze kluby zbierają pieniążki też na walkę z żywiołem, także my możemy się też dołączyć jako klub do tej akcji Obozu Światła. Widzimy się normalnie za tydzień i za 2 tygodnie. W najbliższym czasie nie planujemy odwoływać naszych spotkań, więc szczegóły już na mailach będziecie mieli. I jeszcze informacja, za tydzień naszym guest speakerem będzie bratanek Tomka Wicentowicza, Krzysztof, którego na pewno pamiętacie, bo on był kilka miesięcy u nas temu, kierowca rajdowy. No i na pewno będzie też
Będzie
interesujący.
mówił o rajdzie szlakiem jedwabnego szlaku. O, bardzo ciekawe.
O, także
Ubiegłego roku.
A teraz od naszego gościa myślę dowiemy się, jak tworzyć startupy, jak w szybkim czasie zostać milionerem. Mr. Piraiee, the floor is yours.
My name is Ahmad. Sorry for not speaking Polish. My Polish would just go to Dobra do widzenia, and that would be less than half an hour. And also thank you for the invitation. I do speak in different fields. We have a lot of common because I did work with MBank for some projects, and I'm sure we can have a lot of different more professional things, but I had a very interesting conversation with just saying, just come and talk about yourself, and that is not what I usually do. So kind of try to say like how to become me. I also put the asterisks for any one of you guys that don't have legal backgrounds. Always have to read the asterisks. So it's only 30 minutes, so I'm not gonna go through the details of that. I'm a director for Startup Grind. So we are part of the Google for Startups. So as I was just having the pleasure of knowing a little bit more about what Rotary is doing. So we also have a very big community globally in more than 600 cities in 125 countries. We try to promote entrepreneurship that doesn't really start and stop with the startups. It basically goes somehow with like, whoever really want to be an entrepreneur, we try to help them by real examples. So we bring people that are best at their profession and then try to help them bring their knowledge into the younger generation. So we also have a Warsaw chapter, and you're welcome to also join our events. It happens every month, and I also don't have a clicker, so I have to get back here. I also like to really sometimes try to have a very long conversation short. So if you guys really don't have time to listen to me for half an hour, that's me. I'm a yes person. So they asked me to come over and talk, and even though that like maybe my core activity is a little bit away from here, but I just said yes because that's how I came in Poland, and that's how I did 99% of the things that I did in my life. So I grew up in Iran, and I came to Poland almost 7 years ago. I tend to have a good idea of try to analyze the market. I used to work for big corporations and always try to understand, like, see the big picture to some extent. And I came to Poland, fell in love with all the things that are happening here. And one of the things that I learned is that Poles really need to promote themselves better. Everything is amazing, but like one of the first things that I saw, and I was very happy that I was a small part of a very interesting big project, was this campaign. I totally recommend watching the videos. Is Come and Complain. And I really recommend. These are like hilarious piece of content, was made by a very creative Polish agency. It just shows like no matter how much everything is amazing and how everything is just going forward, still there is a very easy way to complain about things. And as long as it's a personal thing, this is fine. But when you have a corporation and you want to promote it properly, it's really hard to, like when I talk to my Swiss friends and talk about like M-Bank and all that, like digital bankings and all the things that are happening here, I was like, that's the first time I'm hearing that. I was in Hungary, I was the only representative of Poland. And then they were just, we had a guy from one Czech bank. And they were just saying that Poles are the pioneers at digital banking. And then after that, I was on the stage. And I was like, I'm happy to hear something positive about the Polish innovation. And then he said, well, you deserve it. And I was like, I know. But if I wouldn't be there, and then there was a Polish speaker, I was like, we're good bots. So that's what I started doing. So I basically tried to somehow try to help the Polish companies with a little bit of a strategy and a little bit of how to promote themselves. So they know best at what they do. I just somehow try to help them do things a little bit different. One of the other things that I always learned by talking to locals and other people that definitely have more like a hands on the local knowledge for me, something between the lines also, I studied the Polish culture just because I really felt like if I want to work in a country, I have to know where the country came from and where it's going. One of the things I really learned that is a problem is failing. People are afraid of saying that we failed, people are afraid of failing, and people are afraid of just openly talking about it, while a lot of other cultures are embracing it. So I have my website, you can just go and see my website, and every time I try to basically start with this whole thing, like failing is good, and even thinking about failing again is even better. But the whole idea that you have to fail better, and always try to understand how to basically just put it in a way that you can have progress in your life while having the idea of fail as an inevitable part of your life with yourself. And sometimes it's good to somehow put some numbers and to just put things into perspective. So it's not a commercial conversation. It's not like I'm not selling anything. It's just the whole idea of like the guy is standing here, why he's here, and like why you have to spend 24 minutes of more of the time just to this guy.
Don't worry, we can grant you 5 more minutes if needed.
You're always a generous person, so thank you for that. So basically just because I kind of don't want to go back to that part. So I lived in 10 countries, so this is basically the 10th country, and I'm going to also just say something that I didn't put in the slide. I never lived 7 years in anywhere. So for me, like being in Warsaw, like all the time that is a question, I was like, why? And I mean, not by myself, with others, unfortunately, but I'm just saying it like that is one of the ways that I always find the depth of the Polish potential is far beyond lots of other people's expectation, and I'm still here to somehow show this potential to others. I studied a lot also, I have to say. So I studied as a bachelor in computer engineering, and then I made my first company around 2000. I failed, and I learned that soft skills are sometimes more important than knowledge in my specific field, because I made something that maybe back then you could call it some sort of the equivalent of a software house. And I made a very big deal at the age of 19-ish with the biggest bank. And right after we signed the deal, the bank just hired everybody in my company. And then I was like, guys, you're my friends. And I was like, what do you mean by friends? Like, they pay more. So I really learned doing business, has a lot to do than just knowing IT and being able to negotiate. So I studied my first MBA. I tried to be a little bit more like into management side, and started working for United Nations, for Canon, for Xerox, for some big organizations. I had the pleasure of also just working for a company that somehow helped me with like personal development. So also always responsibly, like I try to do it with others. Say, no matter what you do, always try to put some of the money and the resources on yourself, and then try to always don't say that I'm fine. There's always things to learn more. So at Xerox, they kind of stopped giving me money, and basically they're asking me to, if I want to get the money, then I have to basically go to university. So I get 2 more masters just because we paid for it, and I'm grateful for that, because that was also EMBA, so that was executive MBA, and that was very, I would say, eye-opening, especially when you have the platform to really implement it. Then I came to Poland, and I learned the best way to know the culture and know everything is to also be close to the culture, not just jump and start doing things. So I study also economy here, and I'm also son of an economist, so for me it was always a dream to know a bit more about economy. And then I did a PhD in psychology, in sociology, in Polish Academy of Science, and that is the end of my academic background. I did a lot of public speaking in different capacities, from debating like a Hungarian central bank to hosting like a few thousand people events in Poland and other countries, to being guest speaker in like East Asia to talk about like CE, fintech. And funniest part is sometimes when people think I'm Polish, and I really wish like either I will be the person who is wrong in this equation or somebody else, because I also have the other part of this whole thing, that like I was in a co-working space, and this guy came to me. I have a big network, so we can talk about that, but like this guy came to me very eager, like, nice to meet you, let's go to my office. And I was like, nice to meet you too, but why should I go to your office? And then he started speaking Polish, and I do understand a bit Polish, and then he said that, you know what, I was looking for a non-Polish guy, and as long as you were standing there, so I thought that's you. And I lived in like Switzerland, like you cannot hear that, like there is no such a thing as a non-Swiss space. And that is the thing that we have to fix. So right now, if I would be in other countries and they say that, well, you know, you're Polish, so you don't understand. And I was like, I don't live in Poland, but I'm not Polish. But I'm just happy that somebody thinks even I'm Polish, because in Poland still we have to somehow be a little bit more diverse. And then try to, my Polish friends are really open, warm, and like, you know, like it is so like overwhelming for me, but still the majority, I would say. Like not living in a bubble of any sort. Like we really have to learn that if Poland wants to go somewhere, we need to see a diversity, and that's one thing that I also really want to have. And also put some more stuff about like basically just doing a lot of different companies and doing a lot of different things, including like even when MBank wanted to do the M Accelerator as like a CVC, so I was with the Cesari and like a lot of people that I'm sure we know each other, with the vice president and everything. We started the biggest CVC in Poland, just by helping them how to position themselves and how to promote themselves properly. Because sometimes this is the biggest part. And sometimes like very simple phrases that means a lot. And they say, I mean, this is called Sagan, that is like, if you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you have to first invent the universe. That is a very profound way to start the whole thing, because sometimes we have to learn that we have to take something from somebody else, and we shouldn't be ashamed of that. Because if you start to make the apple pie from the beginning, you have to start in the universe. And that's what I started to do. So not to copy somebody else's apple pie, but also not to start making the universe that a lot of my Polish friends with massive amount of, I would say, hard working in their way, they just try to make it happen, and that is not the right thing to do. So if Americans or Swiss or Norwegians are doing something, you can take the essence and learn how to do something on top of it. Don't try to say, okay, so I have something in the US, I'm going to copy it in Poland. That was the case of like almost 20 years ago in a lot of startup community, even some businesses here. No, let's try to do something unique here, and it is happening. I mean, one of the very obvious, I would say, representation of this, at least, I don't know how many of you guys know The Witcher, the Witchman. the whole series and everything, it is a global phenomenon, and it is Polish. I mean, it by all means is Polish, especially like if you are Polish, and if you really look at some of the behaviors and everything, it is amazing. And I really don't feel this is a novel, or this is like a TV show, or this is a game. This can be seen in different places. And another thing also, because I've been asked many times, like, what is the most innovative, most interesting thing that happened in this ecosystem in Poland, or what is the most innovative things? And a lot of time, this didn't even happen in the startup community. Like, Bleak still for me is one of the most interesting innovations that came out of Poland, and still globally, like the way to transfer money and everything, where these things are amazing. So there is a potential, but we just have to learn how to use each other's knowledge in order to be overall better. So long story short, what I do is thought leadership, meaning that I don't know what you guys are doing individually. I would be more than happy to take this out of one person talking. You can also try to come back, give your opinion, challenge me, or even say what you're doing, because the more this is going to be bi-directional, hopefully it's going to be more interesting. And after dinner, nobody's can also fall asleep, and that is, something that is always a problem. Thought leadership is not about thinking better than you. It's about me somehow being a mirror for you, meaning that I try to align all the things that you are trying to put, try to say if another company is doing it the way that you're supposed to, take it as a base element, and then try to just do it better. Sometimes even, as I said before, learn that that is a failure and stop doing it before even going further. So it's not always about business development. But a lot of people, unfortunately or fortunately, they try to somehow put it into a form of a growth management, or growth hacking, or marketing, or whatever else. Words doesn't really matter. I am going to do a little bit of my academic background, so it's going to be a little bit more detailed. But just remember 3 different things. First of all, this is not a sales pitch. It's just about, if you want to know what I do, this is how I structure these things. And I also promised 35 minutes of this whole thing with a thankful 5 minutes of extra time. It is going to be the sum up of the whole thing. But this is the reason to explain those things. Second, I'm not addressing anyone. So we had an event before coming here at Google, and that was a conversation I had with one of the Polish startups, that you should never accept a consultant that after 2 minutes of the conversation say, you know what, your best way to do things is to go to Germany and do B2B business, and then you're going to be a billionaire. It's like you just go to the doctor, and the doctor says, take this acetaminophen. That's going to fix your problem and go home. I mean, there should be like an inventory of a lot of stuff. So this is a very generalization of what I'm going to basically do with every single individual, but I try to put it here. The last part is what I do can come into 2 different packages. For individuals, for their personal branding, and I would even dare to say for personal relationship, up to the point of business. Because a lot of time, people don't understand business. I'm not going to put any assumptions, but I assume like with the average age of the year, like not so many of you guys right now going to clubbing and then try to come back home with like 2 girls. But people understand how to do the supply and the demand in these senses. So they do understand that they don't have to be pushy, they do understand that they have to be human, they do understand that they have to be polite. But when it comes to business, sometimes you go to the business and then the guy says that, 5 zloty or leave. But because they think that this is not the daily life. But when sometimes you put a business into some sort of like a personal relationship, or you put them into something more humane, then people get to know these things in a deeper level, and vice versa. Sometimes in your personal life, when you feel like you're making a mistake, because you really feel personal life is all about emotion, and then there is no transaction of resources and dreams and everything involved. So somehow, when you bring these 2 together, then you will have a more interesting work and a more logical lifestyle. So somehow it will somehow give you a balance between your personal life and professional life. So I will try to make my conversation as some sort of a contemporary art. I mean, not as much as this lady is doing here, but I will draw something. It's up to you and your interpretation of when I say supply and demand, what you really would put into your imagination and how you want to put it. So I'm going to start with this one, that in the world that has its choices, why do people really have to pay more attention and take something from you. Because this is one of the main part. So sometimes you really feel like, you know what, this is the Rotary Club, this is the best place in the world, everybody have to understand it. That is not the reality. People have to buy us. People have to understand what we do. We don't have this privilege of just saying that people, like we deserve that thing. And everything comes back to what I already mentioned before. Everything is a power of supply and demand. The moment that you are one, and then there are two people running after you, that is the time that you can easily sell your product or your services. If you say all the people in the world can be a part of the Rotary, you somehow make the Rotary non-exclusive club. But the moment you say in 2020 you will have 20 seats available, then you somehow just say that this is a limited edition. And that is the way that you can try to just add 20. And again, you can have a strategic idea. Your goal is to have 100. Because your 20 people is going to be filled in 2 minutes. Then you can just say, due to the high level of demand, we only accept 20 more people. And because the other one is going to be also fixed at 20 minutes, then you just say that, you know what, 10 more, and then we're done. Let people leave your business without being a part of it. That is a good thing. We don't have to be greedy and then try to get everything in. It's always good. I'm going to play with this word a little bit called oversubscribed. And believe me, no matter what you do, if you're not oversubscribed, you're always just having a problem. Either you have to sell your product cheaper, or you basically have to understand that you're struggling and you always have higher potential for your business. So like one of the businesses that is not oversubscribed is like car sharing companies. One of the problems they have, they try to take the market. So they cut their costs, they cut their budgets, they cut their drivers, and everything is working below the minimum average, and that is the real problem. So I'm going to go through some examples just to make it a little bit easier. That you must feel confident that what you're offering is something that you are genuinely serving people. If you are really in a business that you really feel like what you're selling is only for you, I'm not addressing you. I'm only talking to people that what they are trying to sell is something that they really understand that I'm adding something to people's lives. So even like going back to the car sharing companies, if you say you're Uber and you are like, I have problems with these things. Like I bring an international guest, they go to the Chopin airport and then they come back, and the first point of contact is a Polish driver. They bring them from the airport to the center through Targovic, and then they have to pay like 500 zloty. And then they're not going to be happy for the rest of staying here. So when I really just ask them to work with Uber, I'm not endorsing Uber. I'm just trying to say that Uber is going to make my life and their life easier. So I'm basically just selling a business, that this business is going to somehow add something and make people's life better. Second part of that is to be passionate about it and view it as a, you know, like as a present to the world. Like a lot of time we just say that, you know what, I really love my job. And I was like, you say that you love your job, but the way that you're presenting it, it's just like, you just want to kill yourself before you just, you know, like that. It's like, one thing I also have to say is kind of a fun for me. I was like, I was running a company of like 20 plus people. I could just synchronize my watch with like 5:30. Because like these girls were like, guys, they were just having their lunch boxes right next to each other at like 5:27. 5:28, you would just see that the mouse is just clicking and all closing all the tabs. 5:29, the hand was on the handle, and 5:30, the company was off. I was like, guys, leave at 4:30. Just finish your job, leave at 4:30. I'm fine with it. But I was like, no, you know, I have like a, what do you call it? Like this is my standard. Like I promise that I'm going to work that amount of hours, and I'm going to work in that way. And that is what you have to really see. Be passionate about what you do. Think about your partners. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to marry you, and I promise I'm going to stay with you 8 hours per day. And that's like not 8 hours after. I was like, honey, you know I love you, but like it's 8 hours and 1 minute. So that is now passion. You have to be passionate about what you do. The moment you're expecting that the second that my time is going to be up and I'm going to leave the job, you're not passionate about what you do. Last part is also is that love what you do, care about the customers, and be in your business for a long haul. Oh my God, like multi-level marketing. I mean, like perfect example for that. Massive passion about it. They always just say that, you know, we're going to cut the middleman out. those guys are going to be inactive in 6 months, maximum for a year, and after they're gone, because that is how much a multi-level marketing can really operate. Or then try to say that, you know what, I hope nobody's really from the telco, because I'm going to just hit them a little bit from time to time, but like telecommunications, like how many of us, if you really have internet, you still need to call each other by landline, but they're still selling it. So you have to see when you're trying to expand your business and then try to make it grow, even the banking sector. When you really want to look at the fact of, with all the digital banking and all the other stuff, how much I can really have a physical location, even if I want to tell you how to grow your business, how to make your business more profitable. When your business is dying, there is no point even making it there. Or when you have a problem. I was installing my new internet. The guy from UPC came. First of all, they still have this funny thing that like they ask you to come in like 6 hours, that you have to basically stay home for 6 hours. So they don't say at 11:30, they just say between 2 to 4 o'clock. And then when he arrived, he was so angry that he had to stay with me. And so imagine, I'm trying to get an internet. And I was like, this guy hates what he's doing. And then I was waiting for this and waiting for this, and I was like, sign. And I was like, but I don't have internet. And I was like, oh, you don't have any patience. Just sign it, it's going to come in 1 hour. And I was like, so you want me to just say, like, deliver the service while I didn't deliver it? And then he was so pissed, he started pacing around my flat. And I was like, I'm just going to sign it that he would. Yes, everything was fine. But I just right now walk around and I just say that I wasn't happy with the quality of that company. So you have to be sure you love what you do, you're in it for a long run, and you're really passionate about it, that the rest of the conversation is going to really make sense for you. Ideas are really easy. Another problem I also have a lot in the community, and I was like, oh, before talking to you, you have to sign an NDA. I don't sign NDAs. Unless you're a biotechnology company or you're a pharmacology company, you're really doing something groundbreaking. Let me give you a massive idea. Let's just make a search engine and then everybody just find the stuff much easier. Google. Just go and just try to compete with Google. A lot of ideas are very simple. The implementation is the hardest part. If any one of you guys remember the Google in the early 2009, 2010, they were pitching that this is a search engine. We're not going to tell you what the weather is. We're not going to tell you any like what to buy. There's no advertisement. It's just a simple search, and that was it. So you start a very simple idea, and then you evolve it into the alphabet that we see right now. That is a multi-billion-dollar company, and even to some people's interpretation, it's a culture. So you have to understand what to do as an implementation. So most of the things that we're going to discuss is mainly about how to implement stuff. Ideas can be anything. Again, a very long story short, everything we're talking is a supply and demand. If you know what is the real the demand and what is the real supply, you can just basically go back and try to get some more food. Because everything I'm trying to say comes naturally to people who understand the real connection between supply and demand. But as a person who's doing it at university, doing it outside, do a workshop, talk with businesses, even I sometimes have to learn what is really supply and what is the demand. You have to understand if KFC in the business of real estate or selling chickens. Because you never really know before digging the business, seeing the real things inside, and then understanding what is the real supply and demand. What is the reason that people really want you, and what are the things that you can cut out of your business or add to your business to make more money out. Make your own market force. We always also think that, okay, so there is a market, we can't touch it. All we have to do is to understand, especially if you guys ever take a look at like market strategies, the market is always fixed. You always feel like when you are talking about a market, there's no way we can fix the market, there's no way we can make our own market. We just have to be obedient to how the market operates and then try to work based on that. But that is definitely not true. I'm going to start basically with a little bit of more classic. The market forces of demand and supply determines the price and profit that you want to make. I'm going to give you a little bit of a story, just to not to make it too like dry to some extent. So Gary Vaynerchuk is a content marketer. He's a consultant. We kind of doing the same thing. We had a pleasure of also sometimes try to bring some different places together. He wanted to sell 2 hours of his consultancy. And there is a market price for an hour of consultancy. I'm sure if anyone of you is an advisor, you know what is your hourly basis. It's either $100 or if it's $100,000, you always have a price. But what he did, he started putting an auction on his hourly basis. But he only said that he wants to do advisory for one person. Again, supply and demand. One person with a massive network of millionaires and billionaires in his disposal wants to give you one advisor. So now there is a lot of crowd and one person there. So they started bidding at around, like, imagine, like, I'm not sure if I have to put it here, but like imagine like they started at like £500, 500 euros, and another person says 600, the other said 800, the other said 900, and then around 3,000, everybody basically stopped. But there were two people, and by the way, not making it up, this is a real story. They started basically just bidding against each other because they definitely wanted to be the one who would take the advisory. That is the reason that basically the price went all the way to 3,990. But if anyone of you guys ever been on a bidding, it is really time consuming. And he was not supposed to ask everybody to stay for 5 hours to make the whole thing happen. So he started the bidding, and it was like, guys, stop. Would you mind if I'm going to basically put 2 hours for both of you, and the money would go to charity, if I did say that before, and if I will give 2 hours to both of you, we both agree that we are going to basically make it into 4,000 euros each, and they agreed. So this is the training that that you have to have in your line. When you have 2 people who bid for your product, then the price of your product is going to be totally out of the norm. Another thing that also, I don't know how many of you guys are really into the business of IT, WhatsApp had a massive valuation. But the massive valuation was not because just Facebook desperately was looking for WhatsApp. The massive valuation was because Google was bidding against Facebook. So Facebook had to bid over what Facebook was bidding to take the WhatsApp. It was like one of the best acquisitions ever. If one of you guys really want to take a look at the valuations before and after. But the reality is that Facebook could never ever go that far if there will be another player called Google. So if you want to do anything with your business, you always have to learn that if you're going to be one-to-one, you are not going to win. A lot of exhibitions don't work for the same reason. You just say that, you know what, I'm a catering company, I'm a charity company, and I'm going to go to an exhibition with 30 more charities. Then I'm one person, and you are trying to pitch a charity, but I'm just thinking that, you know what, there are 30 others that are waiting in the line. My attention is going to be 1/30 of those things, because I feel there are a lot of choices for me to have. But when you organize your own event, and you bring 50 people to listen to you, then you're the center of attention. And we have different understanding based on the different market that we have. I'm also trying to keep the time on my side. So focus on the market versus a small group of enthusiasts. This is also one other thing. I sometimes do some stuff on my social media and some people don't like it, and I'm more than happy about it. I don't sell anything to everyone. I work with B2B businesses and businesses that they want to go global. If you're not a part of that, I would be more than happy to basically say you're not my client and it was nice to meet you. And as an advisor, I have hourly basis that I cannot extend 24 hours per day or 30 days per month or 29 or whatever is the right word for it. And then that is it. So it is really interesting if you manage to set your market and only serve those people. If people are not really going to be in that part, just ask them to leave. And that makes you a very professional person. Don't think that it's bad. Don't think that everybody that is walking is your customer. Don't think that as long as I'm not going to be 100% acceptable by the society, I'm going to be fine. And again, as I said, between the lines, you can always think of these things as non-business related activities. I have friends in LGBT community, and I was like, Polish community don't accept me. And I was like, that's not correct. Maybe 40% don't do that, but you don't need to make everybody happy. You can have your own market and then try to be fine with it. It goes the same with the blockchain. It goes the same with the electromobility. It goes the same with a lot of other stuff. Still, people are against a lot of changes and a lot of things that, especially if you have a very unique company, you need to have those things. So embrace those changes. Try to accept that you have a specific target market, and if you don't, you're wasting your resources. So try to focus on a smaller market and make it so small that you make sure that you're oversubscribed. Meaning that if you are going to have 50 seats, make sure you're going to have 100 people. Next time you're going to have a Rotary and you want to have membership, say that we're only going to accept 30 people. And if you're going to have 500 people subscribe, it's perfect. Don't change the numbers. Let all of those people stay behind the door, because that just shows how important it is to get in. Because if everybody can get in, then this is everybody's club, and being a part of everybody's club is never going to make anything exclusive. I'm just going to go with the next one. Some people miss out. So, most of these things are somehow related. So, you'll only make profit if you oversubscribe and the capacity to deliver. That's one of the main reasons that, for example, like you see some companies like Tesla are really just milking this idea. Tesla would go with like 30,000 cars, 40,000 cars, and even before they started manufacturing, all the cars are already sold. While some cars are already in the market, and now they're just showing it to the customers. I don't know how many of you guys speak French, but like e-tron, that I don't think even one French speaker would drive that car. I'm sorry, it's a little too rude just to translate it, so if you guys know what that means, just go for it. Because they don't put the right target markets. Because they just feel like first I have to be perfect, and then I have to put my product out to do that. On the other hand, Tesla makes a product as a concept, and they sell it to the market, and they say that that is it. We only have 30,000. So they add 250,000 people that they are fighting for 30,000. So in half an hour, they oversubscribe, they overfix the capacity of what they have, and then after that, they can put any price on the car, and then people would pay for it. So that is the way that you can somehow try to have higher margin and at the same time basically do whatever you want. Create your own market. So basically low on the demand and the supply, and basically I'm going to put 3 different scenarios for you to understand how this whole thing works. So either you have to be oversubscribed, meaning that the demand is outstripping the supply and resulting in the profit and being tailored to the top of the normal range. That's what I mentioned. So if you're basically just having something exclusive that others don't have. The other one is balance. Balance meaning that the demand and the supply are relatively even, resulting in like you're gonna get minimum wages. Like imagine that you are just promising that this place is gonna be warm. If you just leave and this place was warm enough, you never say that, I'm definitely gonna go back to Intercontinental. Because Intercontinental was a warm place. It's a balanced thing. You're expecting it, you received it, so you're not coming back, but you're not gonna also just recommend it. And I imagine you finish your meeting, you're gonna go home, Polish apple is like 2 zloty per kilogram. So I think with like 5 zloty to 6, they can give 1 apple to every one of us by the time we marry. We weren't expecting that to happen. So the moment you have something that you were not expecting, then you're not in a balance. The moment you shift the balance, you go from being balanced to being oversubscribed. That is the point that if here is going to have 10% more on what they are offering, you're still going to come back. And the misery is when it comes to basically undersubscribe, meaning the excessive supply, and that is where basically things are going to be complicated. Think about some supermarkets. Supermarkets are always in the center of basically being oversubscribed, or undersubscribed, because they always basically work on a commodity level. But also think of how the real new e-commerce operate in these things. Carrefour opened up Bio Carrefour. Now they're oversubscribed. What does it mean? Meaning that what is the other bio market that is next to them? So now they position themselves into another place. They are not competing with Auchan or other places. They are competing with 50,000 people that they want to do shopping that is, those people might have capacity for 10,000. So they know that 50,000 always can finish everything that they bring. So you don't have to oversubscribe, meaning that you have to have, if there's a population of 40 million, you have to sell it to 70 million, meaning that your target market is 2 million and you are already having 4 million. Register, letter of intent that I definitely want to buy it and I'm going to be the first. So these 3 different stages are how you have to see your business and how to have to basically position yourself there. And every single time you see a bubble, that is also when it happens. Like you would basically see everybody right now just feel like if you make any like a .com company, then you're going to be $1 million. Again, as I said, it's not for the long run. It is not something that in the future you're just going to basically be able to cash it. It's a short period of time. You have to just, it's a under subscribed business plan. You just basically say, you know what, I have this amount of product, I'm just gonna get rid of it, and the moment it's gonna be over, I'm out. Those were the people that they made money out of dot-com bubble and all the other bubbles that comes. So if you ever want to do something, you have to learn also that if you are in a stable market or in a market that is going to go. Profit loss, the second part that is also super important is that build your own loyal fans. And basically, like, we are always having this problem that, like, if you guys know more, they never really follow the trends. If they have a price for the products, people pay for the products. Because this is not just another champagne. They have their own prices, and whatever is going to happen to the market, they're always just going to go with what they have. Because they have fans. I want to have Moet. I don't want to have a champagne. Or even the whole world of champagne and all the other stuff that comes with it. When you are going to have something that you have loyal fans, there is another charity right next to you. It's cheaper, better, I don't know like what is the really like KPI for charity, but I'm just going to basically just make an improvisation of the whole thing. As long as they say, you know what, I came here for the brand. And whatever is going to happen, you emotionally attach yourself to your brand and your business. No matter what is going to happen, nobody is ever going to leave you because they are loyal fans. And then you can set your prices as high as you want, or the condition as different as you want, and people still going to follow you. Famous. I mean, this might be a bit funny. So, how many of you guys are going to be famous? So it is not a formula, but it's as close as you can have basically to be famous. You're famous when someone that has never met you, but they feel like they know you, they like you, and they trust you. How many of you guys like Lewandowski? How many of you hate Lewandowski? Like, how many of you guys met Lewandowski? You see, like, it doesn't, no, that's good. I mean, me too. Like, you know, Lewandowski is like, you know, it is a big,
That's right. More people met Lewandowski than love and hate. So,
but I'm just saying, like, for me, I mean, come on, like, whatever you want to talk about Polish celebrities, I mean, he is the face of Huawei and like
he's a normal person.
He's a normal person. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't want to talk about it. I don't know what you see. I don't know who is a famous person in Poland if he's not. And I also didn't want to ask any one of you guys if you met Chopin, because then you should be a little bit older than just a tiny baby. So I'm just saying, we feel that we have a feeling for famous people. We feel we can trust them or hate them, while even not knowing them. And trust is the essence of your business. If people feel they can trust you, they come into your business and they buy your product. If people feel like they cannot trust you and they cannot be a part of your business, then no matter what you do, they would never get close to you. So the moment you can even add your personal branding to your business, somehow you help your company to do whatever you want out of your personal capacity and out of you basically just promoting yourself as a person who is trustworthy. Because trust is a massive issue. You trust somebody, you let them basically just do whatever you want with your product. The same sense as that people have with Steve Jobs and Apple. A lot of people basically went to the whole Apple product just because they trusted the Steve Jobs and his vision and all the things that he was doing. So basically, you have to have a constant message. If you want to be famous, you have to have a constant message. Maybe one of the reasons that you have a problem with Lewandowski is that, is he a football player? Is he a celebrity who is basically selling like a Chinese product? Is he a part of the Polish product that is Vistula? Who is he? But the moment that somebody walks around and specifically tell people, we have to understand, people are not going to know what we do. I promise after not half an hour, after 4 hours of me talking for one time, you guys are going to forget about me, you're not going to remember me. But I have something around 150,000 in my network that most of them met me at least 10 times on stage. Now they know what I do. But below that, people will forget about what you do. What is mBank? What is Samsung? What is Huawei? People would remember a 30-second pitch and they forget about it as easy as that. But when you keep saying that, that's why a lot of advertisements like Coca-Cola are so catchy and small and short. And they keep saying that. And I was like, shit, I listened to this advertisement 3 times in 1 hour. And I was like, good, I want you to do that because that is the only way I can make myself and my brand in your head, and then you can really remember that. The other one is content. If you have a small business, if your business is something that you can basically just live with 5 people, go for it. Be offline, don't do anything online, everything is going to be fine. But if you want to be famous nowadays, you have to have digital content. And trust me, people read. People might not read books, and I'm very sad about it because I love reading books and all this stuff, but people read. People read their emails, people read their newsletters, people read some newspapers, people read somebody else's emails, people read New Year Eve resolutions, people see Happy New Year messages. There is always a way to just basically get in touch with people. So you have to create as much content as possible. See, what is your core demography? Is it religious? Go with all the religious occasions. If it's technology, go with all the technology related stuff. If it's seasonal, go with the season. But always make sure the more content you have, the more famous you would be in the end. The other part of it is the commercial ecosystem. We sometimes make a mistake. I unapologetically, I just mentioned that I'm a consultant and I accept consultancy. We have to understand that people sometimes don't get that they can ask you. So when you have this is one of the problems again I see in the Polish culture. You sit in a meeting. It is a business meeting. It is not a meeting to basically get to know a person. Personal meetings, it's a drink, there's a food, there's happiness, laughter, and all this stuff. But in a business meeting, 45 minutes, especially like I'm from Iran. Well, how did you end up here? And I was like, so yeah, I've heard of that. And I was like, it's half an hour into the meeting. Like, can we just try to build a commercial ecosystem around yourself? Make sure that some people are not really here to have a chit chat with you. Make sure that sometimes people are really here, that they really understand that are you here really for business? Can we really work together and just leave? Or they try to at least change their behavior. Maybe I cannot buy your product, but I can be your partner. Maybe I cannot buy your product or be your partner, but I can at least use your product. Make sure you have a clear-cut commercial ecosystem. Then people would understand that I love Lewandowski because I love the Polish national football team, and that is it. And there's nothing else behind it. Or you have to understand that there's other aspects of this business. So the ecosystem is something very important.
Sorry, can you, because I didn't get this thing with the meeting.
The meeting part.
Yeah, the meeting part. If you are in Poland in the meeting, then what happens?
I'm going to put it in this way. First of all, one of the things, because to be honest with you, another thing I have to add to this that might be helpful is that I studied negotiation at Harvard, and that's basically one of the funny things we had in the negotiation was that it's a negotiation with the devil. Meaning that if you're in a meeting, you don't have to think the other part of the party is an angel. You have to understand that you have to be witty, you have to be clear, understanding of what the other person wants and what are the motivations. And a big part of that is understanding the culture, is understanding, reading the room to some extent, if that makes sense. Second part of that is to behave accordingly. So there are some cultures, like the Polish culture, I'm more or less from the same culture, that there are very high context cultures. You cannot shake hands and then jump into the business. You have to somehow just make sure that first you feel comfortable talking to each other and then do businesses. That is not what I had in mind in order to basically say, you know, if you're a Scandinavian, be a Scandinavian in Poland. But the whole idea is that I'm sorry, but a business meeting have to end as a business meeting. If that was, I'm just going to make something a little bit of a parenthesis here. I do organize a workshop like for 2 weeks for like bigger audiences, mainly students, to go really deep into these things because I understand some of these things might be misunderstood. One of the things I love is a negotiation between Nintendo and the whole idea of what happened and how Swedish guy managed to convince the Nintendo to give the whole distribution channel to him. He learned the Japanese culture while other Westerners were just trying to go there. So he didn't talk business for almost like 2 days-ish, and then after that the only thing he managed to get the whole business is by by pushing the other party, the Japanese guy, to have a dinner with him. Because for the Japanese culture, having a dinner is the highest level of trust. So when you do have a dinner together, then you can ask anything and they will say yes. And that is the reason that a small guy with a small electronic shop managed to get the whole Nintendo of Sweden to himself. That is not what I said. I'm talking about like you're a head of a bank and the other one is a head of a bank and you know that you're meeting here, but you still don't understand that like why are you even sitting here? Or how you have to basically understand, because sometimes it's good to make people irritated by the whole topic, because that is only a commercial business, and if we're not really in business together, you have 10 other meetings arranged. As I said, this is not friendship, this is not building a network of people around you. I'm only talking about the fact that if you really want to basically sell your product, people have to understand that they can talk to you about business, and you have to open up the conversation that what are you really selling? If right now I'm talking, I'm sorry, I just keep saying M-Bank because I don't know anybody's business, maybe we can just have a go around and just ask something, but if you're an M-Bank, like M-Bank was on sale, I don't know if they sold it already, not at this moment. And you have to understand what you can do with it. You have to understand, because if I have $2 billion, am I right now in the game or am I not in the game? But if I really feel like I don't know where exactly the conversation starts and when it stops, I basically make people leave me because they don't know how to leave. Is it better?
Okay.
I will just try to make it also shorter, that I will finish at least some part of it. Continuity. One of the problems that a lot of the startups have, and I really try to help, is that always startups say that we have a problem, we cannot work with corporations. That's a problem.